Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Blaisdon Comedy Club. Put your hands together for your host, Nick Hill. That was almost heartfelt, wasn't it? That was nice because you actually continue clapping, and like most audiences, I normally get halfway down and it's like, fuck it, let's just give up now. So I didn't realise there was so many of you had snuck in whilst we were out in our lovely little green room out there with the door open, absolutely freezing. So thanks for coming. Just by a show of hands, who's been to this gig before? Oh yeah, so and just by a show of hands, who hasn't been? Okay, so we've been doing this gig for, I think this is probably the second year we've been running it, and it's just become a bit of a tradition for the new people, just to stand up one by one. Introduce yourself to the group, so we might as well start. Not each other. Does everybody know this? They don't know you, so are you an outsider from... You're not a Blaisdonian? Whatever they're called. Okay, well you're very welcome. So who are the other new people? Just show of hands. Way too smart! Look at that, that's the most intelligent audience I've seen today. But yeah, thanks for coming out. So, my name's Nick Hill, I'm your host, and I prefer host to MC, because normally if I go out and say, hi, I'm Nick Hill, I'm your MC, some idiot always says, does that stand for miniature chap? No, it doesn't stand for that at all. So the format of the night is we've got 3 lovely acts for you tonight, so I'm just going to chat to you for about 10 minutes, once I remember to put the watch on, and then we'll have your first act, and then we'll have an interval, and in the first interval, and I think this has got to be the highlight of the night, you will get the chance to sample Paul's salmonella Paul's beef burgers. Because I got you about 4 o'clock and they were outside in the cold defrosting. The rats seem to like them, so I think you'll be absolutely fine. Then we'll have about a 15-minute break, and then we'll have your middle act on, and then we'll have another 15-minute break, and then we'll have your headline act, and then we can all go off and do whatever it is we do in Blaisdon. We're strangers. And looking at the community Facebook page, there's not a lot, well there is actually, there's far too much going on in Blaisdon, isn't there? There's a lot going on in Blaisdon. Let's just have a look at this, shall we? Because on the 21st of November, Claire Woolham wrote, hi, is Claire in this evening? Nah, she's not going to put her hand up anyway, is she? Hi, has anyone borrowed or know what happened to our wheelie bin? This is very third world problems going on in Blaisdon. Between it being emptied and us going out, it's disappeared. About an hour later, Claire Woolham then said, a neighbour says the contents were frozen in the bin. How do they know that? Wet leaves. So the bin men couldn't tip them out, so they tipped the whole bin in the... Why would you... What planet was that bloke? This is your taxpayers' money. You should all be writing to Ubicos complain about this. A week earlier, Mandy Howell... Do you know Mandy? What was that little laugh for? You know, well, she's a writing contributor. She's a...
She didn't steal it though.
She didn't steal. No, this is another post.
She's a lovely lady.
You're sounding like you know Mandy a little bit too well. She didn't steal it though. No, the Ubico man tipped it in the thing. But yeah, a few days before that, Mandy Wood put, hello everyone, We are all here open for business, ready with coffee and cake. We do have a speaker here, not our architect, who was the one we were hoping to have, but somebody knows what's happening anyway. They've just gone and claimed a nosy parker out of the village, brought them along, and then Mathilde Breton. Why's she getting a burger early?
Sorry.
That's... Could you... Oh, wait! You're going to be the official taster now, and we're all just going to wait till you get your burger. Oh, fuck it, I'm not moving on now. You can... Anyway, Mathilde Breton is Mathilde. That's quite an ostentatious, pretentious name, isn't it? Surely that should just be Matilda. She just put, thank you for organising this, and I don't think Mandy's done a very good job of organising because the speaker you meant to have didn't turn up. But of course, and I couldn't let tonight go without, I wasn't going to say this, but I want to use this as a bit of a tribute because you did lose somebody in November who was obviously a very valued member of your community. And that was Mark's cat. Monsieur Le Chat. Another very pretentious name. And I'm not going to read what Mark wrote, but this cat looked absolutely amazing. And what was brilliant was he got more comments on that post than anything else in the village. So I think today we should dedicate this gig in honour of Monsieur Le Chat. And raise a toast to him. So I toast to Monsieur Le Chat. Because you should all be grateful for living in Blaisdon with the little things that go on, because I come from Gloucester and we've got a Facebook page called Spotted Gloucester. And this was on the 25th of November, and for me this all sums up what Gloucester's like. Tina Evans, you talk to my kids that way again and I will come and get you. It's all on the Ring doorbell camera, so don't pretend you didn't speak to them like that, you tart. It gets better. All of us in the block know what you're up to when Trevor's at work. Absolutely brilliant. And then she went on to say, that black guy ain't no ordinary delivery man unless he is delivering you a foot long every morning. That's just lovely, isn't it? That nearly went. And in other news, I don't know if you saw this, but Cinderford is having a 10-pin bowling alley. Yeah, it was due to open in January, but they've had to postpone it until March because they realised they've had to send all the balls back to have another 4 holes drilled in the top. Fuck off, you know that's true. Apart from the fact that there was no bowling alley going to be opened in Cinderford. So what have I been doing since the last gig, I hear you ask? Well, thanks for asking, that's very good. I've got to be honest, I've been mostly using my bus pass. Yeah, it's great, free bus pass now. And I just use it whenever I want to look at poor people, basically. That's in and out of Gloucester. I don't know if any of you use public transport, but it's bloody depressing. And you get on and there's all sorts of like human flotsam and jetsam on the bus. And I was doing a gig in Swindon earlier this week, and there's all sorts of human flotsam and jetsam. And I could see they were looking confused, and there was one lad on the front row really confused. I said, do you know what flotsam and jetsam actually is? He said, I haven't got a clue. He said, do they know at other gigs? I said, well, I don't know, I'm doing a gig in Blaisdon on Saturday night. He said, well, do you think they'll know? I said, I don't know. He said, well, do you want to ask him? So I said, well, I will ask him. He said, well, they're intelligent. I said, well, I don't know. We'll just have to ask. So does everybody know what flotsam and jetsam is, what the difference is? You haven't got a fucking clue, have you? I don't know either, so it's completely irrelevant. I do know. But there's all sorts of people who get on the bus and nobody, I haven't been on the bus for ages, but nobody talks to each other on the bus. That everyone's on their phones and they've got them on speakerphone. So we found out all about George's colon problem. bloody Margaret's forthcoming hysterectomy. And we found out about Tyler's absolute hatred of foreigners, because he was on the phone on the speaker to Callum saying, we should send all the bloody foreigners back and then we see where we'd be. And I tapped him on the shoulder and said, Tyler, admirable, but I can tell you exactly where we'd be without the foreigner, because unless you've noticed, our driver's obviously a foreigner, so we'd just be absolutely stuck here. And he didn't like that. He got up to leave, and I don't know, it must have been coincidence, but a cat must have ran across the road, because the bus driver saw Tyler coming down the bus, suddenly put the brakes on, and Tyler shot down the front and smashed into the windscreen, and that was brilliant. And 50% of the bus people applauded, and the other 50% were clearly Reform voters. I love people who've got attitude. I was in Hastings a couple of weeks ago, so my granddaughter lives down there. And I was out walking on the West Cliff with the dog, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and I had my camera with me. And you meet all sorts of people, and bumped into this old lady, and she must have been about 76, 77. So a lovely day in this. She, oh yeah, the sun's out, it's shining. She said, you got your camera? Yeah, I've got my camera. You're going to take some photos? I said, yeah, I'm going to take some photos. I said, look at that sea. Calms a mill pond, isn't it? It's absolutely beautiful. And then she went, yeah, calms a mill pond. There'll be bloody hundreds of the buggers coming over on that today. Christ almighty, why did that? It was going so well. But the world's pretty messed up, isn't it? I mean, we've gone through some tough times, haven't we? We went through bloody COVID, we went through Brexit, seems a long time ago. And I don't mind telling you, I voted Remain in Brexit, not out of any strong political beliefs or anything like that. It's just there's absolutely no way I want to go back to washing my own car. I love that cheap car wash. That's absolutely fantastic. Because I started just having the outside done, and I was always reluctant to have the inside done. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the first time I let those lads do the inside, I was watching them, and they were watching me watching them. And we both knew what was going on. Like, I wasn't checking to see how good a job they'd done. I was just making sure they didn't nick anything. And I gave over my £10 and I drove away, and I thought, that is awful. Why you've bloody judged these poor people who've like come over here on minimum wage, probably living 20 to a house, and you're judging them when they're doing a good service. You're judging them. So I vowed I would never allow that to happen again. So after that, the next time they cleaned the inside out, I made sure there was fucking nothing of value in it. But I used to love, I can remember my dad before, it got to a bit of a ritual, wasn't it, on cleaning cars. Always used to be on a Sunday, and Dad always, he'd love to wait for Bob a Job Week. I don't know, can we all remember Bob a Job Week? Some of you will. In fact, the majority of you will. What a brilliant thing that was. I mean, there was no danger in that at all, was there? You know, small boys, shorts, uniforms, knocking on strangers' doors, offering their service in exchange for money. I mean, what could possibly have been? They'd have been fucking safer on Jim Will Fix It when they did it. Or going for a pizza with a member of the royal family. I think that's not many royal family supporters in, that's good. But the world is a bit of a messed up place, and I think we're now under the threat of nuclear war, and I think, oh, what else is there that we've got to look forward, not even look forward to it. And there's only one thing left in the alien invasion. I think that's next on the agenda. And I can tell you this, after doing that gig in Swindon last week, they're already here. Right, well that was 10 minutes of new material. I'm quite pleased with that. That was alright. There's some of the stuff will stay in. Jim Will Fix It will stay in, I think. Royal Family Pizza, no, you didn't really go with that. The 10-pin bowling in Cinderford, I think that will stay in. The bus pass, that will stay in. And if there was anything there you didn't like, I couldn't fucking care less, to be honest. So I think now we should bring on your first act, is that alright? Yeah. I'm delighted this young man's come down today. He's going to tell you all about himself. I've gigged with him many, many times. I absolutely love him. Please make him very welcome. Mark Rowe.